Welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast, your home for weekly information and inspiration to help you get the graduate job of your dreams.
Hello and welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast with your host, James Curran. The Graduate Job Podcast is your home for all things related to helping you on your journey to find that amazing job. Each episode I bring together the best minds in the industry, speaking to leading authors, graduate recruiters and career coaches who bring decades of experience into a bite-sized weekly 30-minute-ish show. Put simply, this is a show I wish I had when I graduated. And a very warm welcome to you today for episode 113, which is coming to you from a bitterly cold Leeds. It might be Baltic outside, but to warm you up, I have not one, but two guests on the show today for a special episode to coincide with National Apprenticeship Week. Now, you might be thinking that you're too old for an apprenticeship or that they aren't relevant to you because you have a degree, and you would be wrong on both counts. And today we'll explore these and we're going to bust some apprenticeship myths. And to help me bust those myths, we have, back by popular demand, a friend of the show and a company which is consistently voted one of the best places to work in the UK and is home to one of the most sought after graduate schemes and apprenticeship schemes. It is, of course, Mars. Joining me first today, we have Vicky, who is the apprentice manager at Mars, who gives us an overview of apprenticeships at Mars and what you can expect through the application process. Then, for the second part of the episode, I speak with Holly, who is currently an apprentice at Mars, and she shares her insights into what it is actually like as an apprentice, the work she does, her experiences, and going through the application journey. As I said, I'm sure this episode will explode some myths that you might have about apprenticeships, and it's going to open your eyes to the opportunities which are out there. As always, you can find a full transcript and links to everything which we discuss in the show notes, which today you can find at graduatejobpodcast.com/Mars Apprentice. Now, before we start, let me tell you why it's been a month since the last episode 112 with John Lees. And my excuse is, I've been chock-a-block with one-on-one coaching, getting people ready for interviews and assessment centres, which are coming thick and fast at this time of the year. Now, by the time you get to the assessment centre, you have just one final hurdle to overcome before you get the job offer. So you need to make sure that you are leaving nothing to chance. If you want to make sure you're heading into the assessment centre confident that you're going to be ready to do your best, then get yourself some one-on-one coaching with yours truly, where we can do a mock interview, case study, presentation, whatever it is you need to do, I will get you ready for it. So go to graduatejobpodcast.com/coaching to find out more and to book yourself a free 30-minute coaching session. Right, let's crack on with the show. I am very pleased to welcome Vicky to the show, who is the apprentice manager at Mars. Vicky, welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast.
Thank you. Good to meet you, James.
And today we are going to discuss all things apprenticeships at Mars. So before we do that, Vicky, do you want to maybe just introduce yourself to listeners and let them know what you do at Mars?
Yeah, I joined Mars in '96, so I've been with the business quite some time. I'm based in the Midlands from our Waltham on the Wold site, our national office. I originally joined the business into a finance role, and now in 2017 moved across into our P&O, our HR function, and more recently I'm specialising as the apprentice manager in apprenticeships.
Amazing. So lots of experience there at Mars, and we're going to dip into that experience today as we talk around apprenticeships. So maybe starting at the beginning, for listeners who might not be aware of apprenticeships and what they involve, what do apprenticeships look like at Mars?
Okay, well, an apprenticeship really is a job. It's an occupation, and our hiring managers would be looking to fulfil a role within the organisation, but we also commit to sort of training alongside that role. So an individual would spend around 20% of their time off the job in academic training.
Excellent.
Training.
Excellent. And how many apprentices do you normally take on, or are you looking to hire in 2021?
Okay, so across our supply functions, we would be looking to hire around 22 within manufacturing and engineering. And we'd also looking to recruit into our digital roles. The demand for that hasn't been set as yet.
With a huge company like Mars, there's plenty of opportunity there. One question then on apprentices, and there might people listening might think you need to be 16 and fresh out of school. Is there an age limit on being an apprentice? And what type of candidates are you looking for?
Yeah, no, as long as you live in England and you are over 16, there's no upper limit. And I love to be able to say that, as I strongly believe that apprenticeships can school leavers, college leavers, around the 16 to 18-year-old category. That said, our biggest sort of cohort is the 18 to 24 year sort of category, but we do also have apprentices in their 40s and 50s.
Oh, wow, amazing! That's really interesting. And are you finding apprentices are becoming more popular, especially as people maybe think twice about university and the costs associated with going to uni and how much debt you're going to come out with? Have you found that recently more people have been looking into them?
Absolutely. I think following the government's reform of apprenticeships in 2017, I think employers were a little slow to respond, because apprenticeships, with the introduction of the apprenticeship levy, became fairly complicated. And so I would say in the last 2 years particularly, we've started to see more employers using apprenticeships. We've started to see more employers using apprenticeships to fulfill their needs, and offer a great platform, a great way for individuals to sort of enter the business.
And would you look favourably on people who maybe have a degree, who are looking to become an
Not
apprentice?
necessarily. I mean, for us, we have apprenticeships across lots of different levels. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with the different apprenticeship levels.
It
We
might be
offer
worthwhile.
programs.
Sorry, just jumping. It might be worthwhile just
Yeah.
explaining what they might are for the listeners.
Yeah, so apprenticeship levels, I suppose, like you say, they used to be very much seen as, I suppose, an entry level vocational qualification as a route into business. We do see intermediate apprenticeship levels at level 2, and they're equivalent really to your 5 GCSEs, grade C and above under the old structure, grade 4, grade C and above under the old structure, grade 4 to 9 now. We then would have level 3 apprenticeships. They're deemed to be advanced apprenticeships, and I suppose they're equivalent to around 2 A levels. You'll then see the higher apprenticeships, level 4, 5, 6 and 7, and they can be more linked to your foundation degree level. And then we have the degree level apprenticeships, which would be equivalent to your bachelor's or your master's.
Oh well, and where do the types of apprenticeships that you offer fit in within these categories?
Yeah, so we have a lot of apprenticeships at the advanced level 3. So our engineering and manufacturing programs are equivalent to the A level.
Having worked in oil and gas for quite a few years, it was interesting how the senior people that I'd worked with, so they'd joined the firm at 16, 17 and then had worked their way up, and 30 plus years later they were running huge parts of the business. So I've seen firsthand just the power of apprenticeships, and for those people I worked with, it was amazing because they had, since I started at the ground up, they had that knowledge of what it's like on the ground. And when you get into managerial positions, then people aren't able to pull the wool over your eyes because you've been there, you've done it, and you probably pulled some of the same tricks. So you've got such a great understanding of the business. Where does Mars have a set career path for people who've done apprenticeships, or is it just really dependent on the types of role and the things that they've, where they want to take their career?
Yeah, I mean, they vary enormously. We've had apprenticeships at Mars for decades within manufacturing and engineering, and we typically see individuals entering the business at your sort of operator level. They'll sign off a program, leader operator roles, advancing through to team leader and beyond. So we've got some great stories, some great apprenticeship success stories that we'll be sharing during National Apprenticeship Week via our social media channels. We've had individuals come through the business and even reach general management. So they're a great opportunity, great platform for anyone's career.
Excellent. And I will be linking to those stories that Mars will be posting in the show notes, which today you can find over at graduatejobpodcast.com/Mars Apprentice. So, Vicky, I talked about how important having academic background was. How important is having work experience in the types of area that people are going to be applying to?
It's a difficult one, really, because we're assessing for potential. So we're training you to be able to do a role. It's when we're advertising an apprenticeship vacancy, we're looking for somebody who has the potential to fulfil that job and fulfil that vacancy within our organisation.
So how would you recommend the people that they can begin to show their potential when they apply?
If I talk through the recruitment process loosely, we've simplified that more recently in response to COVID, and we would certainly advertise our vacancies via our careers site, and you can find the apprenticeships section under students and graduates. There we would advertise all of our vacancies, and Mars tend to assess individuals through competencies. So the roles and responsibilities for the vacancy will be outlined with the associated competencies. Should candidates wish to make an application through to Mars, they would hit the Apply Now button, and as part of the process, we would capture a lot of personal and qualification information and any career information. We'd also ask the candidates to upload a copy of their CV. And we would then go on to ask competency-based questions, and they really help us in assessing that individual's potential.
Are those competency-based questions written down, or would that be in the form of a video interview at the initial sort of first stage once you've submitted your CV?
Well, you apply online, so those competency questions would be accessed via our application platform. So you would be able to type in your response to those questions electronically.
Breaking down then the different stages of the application then. So what do you say separates out a good CV at this stage from the ones that don't meet the grade? Are there any common mistakes that people tend to make?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely important, and you've touched on it in previous podcasts, that individuals really do their research. We're investing in you, and we want the candidate to demonstrate that they've invested in us as well. So I'd really do your research and ensure that you've learned as much as you can about our business. Is there something at Mars that might resonate with you? I suppose it's always quite disappointing if we are talking to candidates at interview stage and they don't even know we make chocolate, for example. So we're very passionate about our brands at Mars, and our sustainability efforts, our social and corporate responsibility. So to sort of really have done your research and to be able to demonstrate that through the examples that you might provide in your questions is great, and to tailor your CV as well to the particular program that you're applying for.
I think if you're applying for Mars and you don't know that Mars make chocolate, you're probably aiming for the wrong company there. So hopefully,
believe me, we do get it.
you mentioned great points there, and research is such a key part. And as you said, it's an investment that Mars are making, and it's a considerable one when you think about the costs for taking someone over the lifetime of the apprenticeship. They're going to get all the associated costs that go with it. It is a big investment, so you do want to see that people have put the time and energy into it. So listeners, make sure that you're doing the basics. Make sure that you are spell checking it. I was looking at one CV last week from a candidate applying, and they talked in the application about how they had great attention to detail, and they'd spelled attention wrong, which did make me laugh. So using a spell checker doesn't cost anything, so make sure that you are using one.
Absolutely.
And with the competency questions, what advice would you give people to make sure that they're doing a good job and doing themselves justice with the answers they're giving here?
Yeah, it's difficult because it's about making them relevant, isn't it? And I think typically for those early in their careers, maybe applications from your school leavers on experience. So really have a think about what it is we're asking. If we're asking around you demonstrating how you've worked as a team to complete a task more effectively, really try and draw back on your experiences. If you're applying for an engineering program, for example, it would be great to see examples around where you've worked as part of a team to complete a project. It might be that you help a family member or friend in sort of stripping down a car engine or repairing a bike, but really try and make your examples relevant and and as clear as you can, and aligned to what we're asking you.
Excellent. Great advice there. So if candidates make it through this stage, what can they expect at the next stage? Is an interview or straight to an assessment centre?
Yeah, it's we call it an assessment panel. So we've, as I said earlier, we've simplified the process because of the COVID situation. So ordinarily we would have liked to have seen candidates face to face, and certainly for those applying into manufacturing and engineering, it's nice to be able to offer a site visit so you can see where you're going to be working. But the response has been really sort of successful in terms of assessing candidates virtually. So yes, if successful, you'll be notified, and you'll be advised as to you'll be asked to do and prepare for a pre-prepared presentation, and you'll probably be given around 7 days notification there. So you would be expected to attend a session which will be booked in by our recruitment team. And we are currently using Microsoft Teams. You would be welcomed onto the Teams call by maybe the hiring manager, onto the Teams call by maybe the hiring manager and another functional expert. Once we sort of had a short conversation and you're feeling a little bit more relaxed, then you would be asked to present to the team, maybe in 10 minutes. And then the call will probably be disconnected and you would come back on for a 30-minute interview. Once the interview was complete, then you would expect to hear within a couple of days as to the outcome. If that outcome isn't positive, you'd receive an email from the business advising you as such, and if you were to be offered a position, then one of the recruitment team would be in touch and make a verbal offer.
Excellent. Happy days. And without spilling the secrets of what the presentation might be, are you able to say any advice for people doing the presentation? How can they perform to their best here?
I think again, preparation is key, and to make it as relevant as possible. The title of the presentation is likely to be linked very closely to the role or the program that you're applying for. So to just to refer back to prepare.
Yeah, if you've got a week to prepare, you make sure you're not leaving it to the last minute. This is your chance to impress, so make sure that you do take it. And then on to the interview. Again, will it be a competency interview post-presentation?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would be assessing for any of the competencies linked to that job role. So maybe looking at questions around teamwork, dealing with ambiguity, maybe functional and technical if appropriate.
Ultimately aware of what the values and the behaviours and the competencies that Mars are looking for. Whether you're applying for an apprenticeship or the business leadership program, you need to know what they are like the back of your hand. So that is a good place to start. And in the interview, where do candidates tend to let themselves down at this stage?
I think, like you say, that there are often silly mistakes. A CV won't have been tailored to the role that they're applying for. Individuals would choose not to answer the competency questions, which are part of the application process, and really, I have to say that would be instant disqualification. We wouldn't progress an application further if the competency questions hadn't been answered in full. So.
No, that's good advice. And, listeners, if there is 200 words or 300 words to answer the question, then, that's what you want to be aiming for. Maybe minus maybe 10% max. But if it's 200 words, one sentence isn't going to cut the mustard with the application, I'm guessing. So make sure you are aiming for the word count and getting as near as possible to that. Would you say that's fair, Vicky?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't actually have a lot of space on our platform for the answers, and so we do encourage applicants to also choose to elaborate or expand those answers and upload that information along with their CV at application.
Brilliant. So, Vicky, unfortunately, time is running away with us. So maybe just a couple of final questions. What would you say to somebody who's on the fence and isn't sure whether they should apply for an apprenticeship with Mars?
It very much depends on their own circumstances and their own aspirations. I'd really take the time to think about what your career aspirations may be. Not all of us are fortunate enough to sort of know what we want to do in terms of a career early on. So really take the time to think about what you want to do, and then research the companies that you're looking at applying for as well, and identify those that something resonates with you. I think apprenticeships are becoming more and more popular, with increased university costs, and certainly with the COVID situation at the moment. We've seen in the media and in the news individuals who aren't getting the whole university experience that they'd hoped for. So I think apprenticeships really do offer a great platform to start your career. Or maybe those individuals who are taking the opportunity at the moment to reevaluate and maybe diversify or change their career paths in some way. So they offer a great opportunity for individuals.
Definitely, and completely echo those points. Apprenticeships can be an amazing way to start your career. So for listeners who we've whet their appetite, how can they go about applying? And are applications open at the moment, or is it particular times of the year when you take applications?
Yeah, I'd get close to our careers site. So there's an opportunity to join our talent community on the careers site, and should you choose to join and follow, you will receive tailored updates around apprenticeship openings and opportunities within the business, and also follow our social media channels.
Excellent. And I will be linking to all of those in the show notes, which, as I mentioned, are at graduatejobpodcast.com/Mars Apprentice. Vicky, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you.
So there you go. Part 1 with Vicky done. So let's roll straight on to part 2 with current apprentice Holly. So I'm pleased to welcome to the show today Holly, who is an apprentice at Mars. Holly, welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast.
Hello.
And today you're going to fill us in on a little bit more about a background about what it is that you do and the type of work you do at Mars. So do you want to maybe just introduce yourself and say hello to the listeners?
So my name's Holly. I am a third year manufacturing engineer apprentice at Mars Wrigley in basic mechatronics qualification.
Excellent. And so you've been with Mars 3 years now. How long is an apprenticeship for people who might not be aware?
So my standard is it's a 4-year apprenticeship. So you start the first year a full-time education, and then you move into the workplace after that. And then I know they do manufacturing apprenticeships as well, which is 3 years. So
super. And what type of projects are you working on then down in Plymouth?
So just recently, the apprentices are quite heavily involved with the day-to-day stuff of the factory. So we've been involved in this big Atlas project. So essentially what it is just this moving from an old system of storing data to a newer system, just to make it more efficient for the company, more cost effective and easier for everyone to use, which has been quite an insightful process. But we just finished that last week. So we'll see what's coming next.
Oh, excellent. And over the 3 years, and has it been a range of different types of projects that you've been working on?
Yeah, so we've been heavily involved in lots of different things. Stuff that's base level, so stuff that involves running days and events for families, to larger projects like installing of new equipment and machinery and that sort of thing. And then also kind of from like I just said, from a data perspective as well, there's been projects ongoing that we've had a hand in, which has been quite good. And it's been quite like a diverse range of stuff we've been able to get hands on and get more involvement in, which has been exciting. And it's been really good because it's helped us feel kind of really included in everything that's been going on within the factory, which has been nice.
Excellent. And I guess you've been able to, see all parts of its operations, the different parts of all the things that are going on, just to get a really good understanding of and how Mars as a company works.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good. They are very encouraging of getting you to work in all different aspects and areas of the factory, so you get a real understanding of how everything works and how everything sort of interlocks, which is nice because it gives you a really good overview of the bigger picture of everything, and you get to meet different people, which is really helpful as well. So
completely. And so when you finish your apprenticeship, then do you know what you're going to be moving on to, or is that sort of still to be decided?
So I'm in a role now where they've put me on with the shift mechanics, so I'm kind of learning about everyday breakdowns. I have a mentor, but I do stuff independently as well. And then hopefully I'll sort of progress into that. But the good thing about Mars is there's also opportunities if you want them to do further qualifications at the end of it. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for and hoping for at the end of my 4 years. So
brilliant. And you can't beat earning while you're learning as well is a really good way to do it. So maybe then just delving into a bit more about your background. So did you go to university, or did you study A-levels before you started the apprenticeship?
No, so I completed my GCSEs, and then I sort of wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do. University wasn't really for me, so I kind of went straight into the working world. And engineering is something that I've always wanted to do. But I kind of left it a few years and worked a few different jobs and stuff just to explore, and then kind of finally thought, right, this is the time, I'm going to do it. I'm going to apply for an apprenticeship because I need to pay my bills, I want to earn some money, and I want to get some hands-on experience while gaining qualification, which is really good. So,
and did you look at lots of different apprenticeships, or was Mars always the one that really took your eye?
I mean, Mars has always been the one that's really stood out. I mean, in Plymouth in particular, you speak to anyone who lives in Plymouth and they're always saying how brilliant Mars is as a company to work for. Everyone wants to try and get in there. I did loads of different researches because we've got quite a few larger companies in Plymouth, but I did loads of research, and like Mars have won lots of kind of like accolades and awards for like being the best UK workplace, one of the UK's best workplaces. So which was a real sort of like forerunner, a winner for me, which was nice. And it's nice when you hear people in the town and the locals speaking so positively about somewhere, so that's nice. So kind of that's been my end goal really, and luckily I got it. So
brilliant. And why did you maybe then plump for an apprenticeship over going to university or just going into a normal role with another company?
I think obviously the main thing about an apprenticeship is you're earning money while you're learning and you're getting a qualification. And I think the really nice thing about it as well is, I know not all degrees are like this, but some degrees can be quite like, if you start something and then you want to progress further, or you want to do something else, or you decide that. So like for me, for example, if I've gone into mechatronics, but I want to go more into the programming side of things, they'll support that. So you can gain loads of different qualifications, which I think is a really good way forward as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. And when I speak to employers and speak to graduate recruiters, a thing that they always want to see from candidates is experience. So if you do have that practical hands-on experience, it's makes you stand out from all other candidates, because at the end of the day, would they rather have that than maybe a qualification which isn't as relevant to really knowing how the job works and being able to show that you've worked in teams and you've worked for companies and done really well. They do love experience, which is one of the huge benefits of an apprenticeship.
Yeah, definitely. And you learn lots of interpersonal skills and mix with so many different people. It gives you more of a life with so many different people. It gives you more of a life experience, I think.
Completely. And what would you say you enjoy most about the role that you're doing with Mars?
Well, that's a hard question. I think more every day is different, and there's always new challenges. Every day you're learning something, and you're always meeting different people. And I think the biggest thing for me is like the comradeship within Mars. Like, take for example the last year with COVID and everything. Everyone's banded together really well, and it's nice to feel like you're part of something bigger, and enjoying your work is a massive thing, and it's nice to work somewhere where you are happy to go in every day.
That does make such a difference. Work isn't fun when you don't get on with the people and you don't enjoy going in. So yeah, it sounds like it is a fun place to be.
Yeah, definitely.
So thinking back then to your application, can you remember what it was like to go through the application process? What some of the different stages were and some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, so ours consisted of kind of like applying for a normal job. You filled out an application form online while you're applying for the role, your interests, that sort of thing. And then if you were successful from that, you'd have a telephone call. They'd have a chat with you, get to know you a bit more, and then you get invited in for like a full day interview. So that would consist of obviously a face-to-face interview. You do team building skills to see how you work with different people and how you overcome problems. And then at the end of it, you'd have like a massive factory tour, which is really good insight to see where you could potentially be working.
Amazing. And which the lots of different stages there that you mentioned, which of them did you find more challenging than others when you were doing the application?
I think maybe the face-to-face interview purely side of things. I mean, obviously when you're applying, it's quite easy to write on a paper and speaking over the phone, but face-to-face, obviously you've got to kind of win them over and impress them. But in all fairness, when I went to Mars, they were really sort of welcoming and friendly, and they were really laid back, and they kind of just made you feel at ease straight away, which has kind of made the interview process a whole lot better, which was nice. Did
you have any previous experience in sort of mechanical engineering and the engineering field more widely?
Not from a professional standard. No, obviously I've had lots of hobbies and interests outside of it, but I've done lots of different jobs, but this has always kind of been in the forefront of my mind as something that I wanted to do. So Mars kind of recognised that, and they saw, I guess, some sort of opportunity for me to develop those skills and learn further, which is really nice.
Brilliant. And how many are there? Lots of apprentices you joined at the same time as, or is there a big pool of you that you got to know the people you're working with?
So we had 4 manufacturing apprentices, and we had 2 engineering apprentices, which was really good, and especially because which Mars do really well as well. We're both female, so that was quite a nice thing. So yeah, there was just 6 of us, but they're regularly looking at taking on people and stuff, which is quite nice.
Holly, you mentioned that both of the engineering apprentices were female, which sounds really impressive, given I've worked in some engineering companies myself, and they tended to be quite male dominated. How have you found being a woman in engineering? And what advice would you give to female listeners who are listening, who are thinking about applying for a role in maybe what is seen as a male dominated environment?
I think obviously there's always going to be that sort of stigma around it that women shouldn't be doing it and men should. But I think anyone who wants to apply for an engineering apprenticeship or anything that's sort of not a normal standard woman career path, I suppose, as it's dictated by society, just go for it. Like, there's nothing stopping you. There's no reason you can't do it. And if you want to do it and you're passionate enough about it, then go to it. I mean, there's been lots of women who've come in as apprentices and they've moved up to managerial sort of status. So there's definitely the support there, and they will help you in every way they can. So just go for it.
Excellent. That is great advice there. Don't let your preconceived notions hold you back from what could be the brilliant, most perfect role for you. What advice would you maybe give to people who are in two minds about doing an apprenticeship? Aren't sure if it's for them, or aren't sure maybe to go down the university route. What advice would you give people who are thinking about if it's right for them?
I think maybe look at all your options, explore what you want to do. Is it something that you need to go to university for? Is it something that you could do hands-on and get to learn properly? And whatever you choose to do, find something that you're genuinely enthusiastic about, because it makes such a difference if you enjoy the thing that you're working towards. So
completely agree. And if you do have that interest and you're interested in a topic, then it's going to make you stand out through the different stages of the application process, and it's going to impress the people that you're working for. So Holly, it's been a year of change for everybody with coronavirus. How has your apprenticeship been impacted by COVID? Has there been many changes?
I mean, obviously it's been difficult and it was challenging at first, but Mars have been really good. They've implemented lots of new sort of systems in place. We obviously have a lot of hygiene measures in place anyway, but they've implemented some more. They're really good at maintaining social distancing and supporting their staff where it needs to be. And from a learning point of it, they've kind of let us have the time to complete our work safely and to make sure that we achieve everything that we need to for our apprenticeship. So it's been really good. And the way that the team's kind of banded together has been really nice, and it kind of reaffirms that teamwork within the factory.
Oh, brilliant. It's at times like that teams, good teams really do pull together. So that's good to hear. So Holly, time is running over. So one final question today. What would you say is the best thing about being an apprentice at Mars?
Oh, that's a difficult question. The best thing, probably the people that you get to work with. You work with such a different and a diverse range of people who are really supportive, and these are people and friends that you're going to make for the rest of your life. So it helps when you're in that sort of environment, because when a challenge comes, you know that somebody's always got your back, which is really nice.
Completely. And from having a couple of people from Mars on the show, they do talk about the people as being the number one asset for the firm. So that ties in well there. Holly, thank you so much for appearing on the Graduate Job Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to Holly and Vicky for their time today, and also to Rosalia for her help in organising the interviews. I hope it has given you an insight into life as an apprentice at Mars, and why, if you haven't before, you should definitely think about applying for an apprenticeship. Check out the show notes at graduatejobpodcast.com/Mars Apprentice for links and details to everything which we discussed today. And if you want help with your interviews and assessment centres, then give me a shout or book yourself a free 30-minute coaching session. Again, details in the show notes. Right, I hope you enjoyed the episode today, but more importantly, hope you use it and apply it. See you next time.